Welcome back to another episode of We Don't Know What to Watch, the podcast where two guys use the mighty algorithm to watch a bunch of movies on different streaming services. And with me, as always, is the amazing, the incredible, the undelible, the Dr. Pepper to my Mr. Pibb, Kyle Mulford, and I'm Noah Saturn. How you doing, Kyle?
Wouldn't you like to be a pepper too?
I don't know, maybe.
I'm doing good. This is our What You Watching episode, where we just talk about whatever we've been watching.
Yep. Mini episodes that sometimes become maxi episodes because they can't get long.
Depending on how many movies you've watched, and I've watched a few this time.
I've also watched a few. I've gotten really low the past few episodes, but I'm starting to get back up again, so that's nice.
All right, do you want to start first this time?
I will go first. I watched 8 whole movies, so still not back to my peak, which is at 30 one time. That was a lot. So first up, I watched the classic silent film Wings, directed by William Wellman from 1927. This is well known, at least in some circles, because it was the only silent film to ever win Best Picture.
That's on my to watch list.
Yep, and it is well known because it's huge, and with all the big aerial battles, they actually had planes flying up in the sky to the point where like the director and one of the main actors were actual like World War One Air Force vets.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
And plus, it's got that kind of famous moving shot, and this big club in Paris was kind of going across all the tables until it goes up to one of our main characters.
Awesome. Was it a good movie?
Oh yeah, it's great. It definitely still holds up. It's fun and like, oh, so this is where Air Force movies come from. Because a lot of the same techniques still is like, oh, so it's cool to see stuff like this comes from somewhere.
Yeah, that's cool. I definitely want to watch that one.
Mm-hmm. So, and plus, if you're interested in silent film, I think it's really fun.
Cool.
And even if you're not interested in silent film, watch it anyway because it's important.
Do it.
Next up, I watched Predator from 1986 with Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jesse Ventura, Shane Black, Carl Weathers, and some other guys.
Yay. That's awesome.
Yep.
What'd you think? This was your first time, right?
This was my first time to see Predator, and it was fun. I enjoyed the characters, and it's Arnold at his prime, so of course he's super charming, and Carl Weathers is super charming too. And yep, it's a dangerous game, but there's an alien instead.
Yep.
Not as interesting as the Alien franchise for me, because it's just like there's not much to the Predator. Just like, okay, he's a cool hunter.
That's basically all he is he's a hunter who came to Earth.
Yeah, I mean, I just like to imagine like what if he was just sort of like a guy that's really into hunting, so he's just like a regular office worker on his home planet.
Yeah, he's just a blue collar predator.
Yeah, spends all his time and money. It's like the open season, so he finally gets to go out, really enjoys it.
I need to revisit this one to wash the bad taste out of my mouth of Predators.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, was it Predators or The Predator? The latest one that Shane Black directed.
Mm-hmm.
The only Shane Black directed movie that I thought was really bad.
Yeah, and the fun thing with the ending credits where they do the thing where like the cast kind of like does a small movement and they look at the camera and kind of smile. I saw someone put that to the Golden Girls theme, and that it worked perfectly.
That's awesome. Perfect.
So third, I watched Darby O'Gill and the Little People.
Nice.
That 1959 Disney classic, and I watched it on St. Patrick's Day. And it's fun and charming, and a lot of the effects that they did for King Brian and the leprechauns, it still looks really good. A lot of really interesting and cool trick photography that still holds up very well.
Cool. I haven't seen this one.
It's really charming. It has got a very young Sean Connery in it, and he sings.
Very nice.
Next, this one, my girlfriend brought this to my attention, and it was something she saw, just like a clip of it online, and it's called Killer Sofa, and it's on Amazon Prime. Was made in 2019. It's in New Zealand, and it's about it's not actually like a sofa. It's more about like a lazy boy recliner that kills people because
now you're talking my kind of movie.
Yeah. And it's funny because it's got like these two like button eyes and like a cute little mouth, so it's hard to take seriously because it's just adorable looking. And then every
Awesome.
once in a while, it even like gets up on the reclining part that pops out and kind of starts walking on two legs.
That's amazing.
It's really funny, but it's the kind of movie like where they play it seriously enough, so even when it is funny, they still definitely put their whole heart into it. Like we know this is a silly thing, but we're gonna have fun with it anyway. And it never winks at the camera. They play it seriously, but I'm sure they're also in on the joke.
Is it does it have any sort of budget, or does that kind of hinder it at all?
It actually has a solid budget, so the effects that they did, kind of the puppetry, I guess, for it works out pretty well. They've got some good makeup budget too there for some decent amount of gore as well.
Cool.
Next, I watched Shrek the Musical on Netflix. So this is different because this is the pro shot version of the Broadway musical. So it's longer than the actual movie. Obviously, they have a lot more songs. And it was fun to see kind of the stagecraft. The makeup for Shrek and Fiona was a lot of fun, the ogre makeup, but then you could still, but it wasn't so overwhelming that you kind of, so they were still able to emote over it really well. And it's definitely, it's a, because it's Shrek, it shouldn't be good, but it's a lot better than it has any right to be.
My family loves this one. The girls have listened to the soundtrack over and over on Spotify, and they've seen this stage version a lot on. I don't remember what's it streaming on, like Netflix or something like that.
Netflix, yeah.
Yeah, and I've seen it once or twice. It really is. I think the guy who plays Shrek does a good job too.
And also, just I love how the guy who plays Lord Farquaad just hams it up and is just having the time of his life.
Or he's walking. I don't know how he walks around on his knees that much and like actually does all of the actions. He was pretty good in this too. To
Yeah,
be able to pull that off through the whole stage production.
I hope he had like knee pads or something, but
Oh, he had to have something on there. But that even with like really soft knee pads, that's got to be hard to do.
So that was fun. They made some good short jokes, but then also just they gave him some more character, and also just the musical theater jokes. Like at one point they make a Wicked joke, then
Oh
another
yeah,
point, and then I also really like there's like a Lion King joke and just a few other musical jokes around here.
yeah, it's a good time.
hmm Next, I watched Blackmail, which is Alfred Hitchcock's first sound movie from 1929. So it's interesting because it still uses a lot of silence. There is some dialogue, but there's not a lot of music. So I guess when the big climactic moment, you think of stuff like the Psycho score, which is which is these iconic moments. And this basic film was about a young woman who's just got a boyfriend. Things are going good for her, but then she gets sort of charmed by this guy. Then this guy tries to assault her. She ends up stabbing him in self-defense, but then she gets blackmailed afterwards, trying to figure out who's the blackmailer and how can she clear her name, and also just sort of the paranoia because she can't tell anyone about it. It's
Sounds like classic Hitchcock right there.
definitely is, all the elements are there, and in sort of this big sequence, it uses a lot of interesting silence and kind of the sequence where she is sort of like stabs the guy. Great editing, still great suspense filmmaking. So I mean, the dude knew what he was doing for a long time.
He did indeed.
Next, I watched another Hitchcock. This one was Notorious, made in 1946, just after World War II ended. And Joan Fontaine and Cary Grant. Cary Grant plays like this kind of like government agent, U.S. government agent guy. And Joan Fontaine, her dad is like a Nazi war criminal and has just recently gotten prosecuted. So she wants him, or he wants her to go to find this other Nazi who's hiding out in Brazil. And there's sort of some love mixed in and also some fun suspense and some really cool. There's one really cool tracking shot where the camera goes down a set of stairs and kind of zooms in all the way onto someone's hand.
Nice. And when the end credits rolled, did they start playing? No, no, Notorious,
Yeah, Biggie shows up.
Oh, as Duran Duran.
Oh, we'll find. And last, I watched number 5 in the Lone Wolf and Cub series, Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart in the Land of Demons. This is fun, because what's fun about the Lone Wolf and Cub movies is that for the most part, there is a continuing story, but it's not super heavy on continuity. It feels very episodic, and that's kind of by design. So you could kind of pop these in whenever. And
Okay.
what's fun, they've got some fun gore, some cool sword fighting, and of course the great relationship between the dad who plays Lone Wolf and the little boy. But yeah, this is kind of fun. It's not aiming for high art. It's aiming more for cheap thrills with all of these movies.
I'm
Blood,
working my way towards this one on my to watch list too.
yep, blood's going everywhere, and all this, red paint, that sort of fun, cheap blood.
Nice.
So those are all the movies I watched, and should probably watch more.
Always watch more.
Hmm.
All right, I watched quite a few. First one I watched was a 1983 film I watched on Amazon Prime called The Final Terror. This one was I felt really low budget, but an early Joey Pants movie. It's a bunch of people who work with like a forestry, like something or other, and they're going to some river to clean it up and all this stuff. And
Is
Joey
this a
Pants is,
Deliverance situation,
similar, but
or is
Joey
it
Pants is the bus
or is it
driver.
or is it a Grizzly situation?
I want to see Grizzly meets Deliverance. Uh, no, Joey Pants is the bus driver. He takes him there, and then there's like they tell this scary story at the beginning about some crazy person that lives out in the woods, and then they start dying. So it's kind of a cool movie. It's low budget, so not real high production value, but early Joey Pants. It's always good to see. He's been popping up in a lot of movies I've been watching lately. Then I watched on Peacock a 1991 film called Cape Fear. Little
Nice.
Martin Scorsese.
I like this one. Uses the same soundtrack as the original film. Both movies I think really hold up, and so does the Simpsons episode.
Yeah, yes, it does. Yeah, I think this holds up too. De Niro is pretty creepy in this.
Oh, he's having the time of his life. He's enjoying the heck out of it.
Oh well, I was reading somewhere that the voice that he came up with, like Martin Scorsese, like was just creeped out by that voice, so he would call him up and leave long messages on his phone in that on his answer machine in that voice.
Nice.
I was like, yeah, he was definitely having a good time with this. I think this is really great. The only thing I mean, ultimately it worked, but I kind of read up on this a little bit after I watched it, just because it's an interesting film. Scorsese read the script for the original film, and he didn't want to do a remake because he thought that the family was too happy. So he wanted the family miserable before bringing in this killer. And I was like, actually, that's some of the stuff I didn't like, is the fact that like, oh, we got like on top of, this guy trying to kill them, it's the daughter's like almost over the top rebellious, and then him and his wife are sparring with each other, and I'm like, I don't need all this family drama. This is about this dude trying to kill their family. I don't know why the family being happy is a game, or is like a a drawback for him, but I mean, it's Martin Scorsese. It's all about the violence and anger, I guess.
Yep, and don't forget to watch the original. It's just as good, and that great soundtrack.
Yeah, I've seen the original too. It's been a long time, but I have seen that one. I'm gonna go and revisit that one. This one had a lot of felt like green screen shots that did not hold up.
Oh yeah.
But I think that's the only thing in this film that didn't hold up. The tension is still there. Robert De Niro is great.
Hmm.
Everyone's great in it, but De Niro really brings it in this one. So yeah, definitely check that one out.
Hey kids, want to drive through the cactus patch? Or no, Bart, you want to run it before you go to bed? That
uh,
also happens to be one of my all-time favorite Simpsons episodes. So
yeah, that's a good one. Is that the one where he steps on all the rakes?
yes,
Yes, I
it's
love
like,
that gag.
can't a man just lie in the middle of the street?
Oh, that's one of what's his face's best roles, Frasier's best roles.
Yes, Kelsey Grammer.
Kelsey Grammer, yeah. Okay, so another movie we watched with my wife and my youngest daughter, because she wanted to start these movies. We watched Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and I won't say anything because you know what? Go back and watch our episode, listen to our episode on that movie.
Yep.
Um, Last week was spring break, and my children got to go to their grandparents for a week. So my wife and I started the MCU universe all over again chronologically. So we watched the 2011 movie Captain America: The First Avenger.
Nerd.
Uh, I know, right? You know, we've been really digging WandaVision. I loved WandaVision, and
WandaVision was great.
we've now seen the first, as of this recording, the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, and it's a really good character study piece. Like, and I think that's going to be a really good show. I can't wait for the next 5 episodes of that.
Hmm.
So we've gone back and so we watched the first Avenger, and I don't know what people's problem with this. This is one of my favorite MCU movies. I just really like the character of Steve Rogers in this film,
Hmm.
and like kind of seeing the beginnings of Captain America.
Also, Stanley Tucci as the scientist.
Yes,
He
he's
was,
he is great too.
yeah, he's barely in the movie for like 20 minutes, but you really feel for this character when he's killed, and you feel really bad for him, even though he's barely in the movie, but for even like, he maximizes his screen time.
Well, that just shows the talent of Stanley Tucci,
The Tooch
the Tooch.
and General Tommy Lee Jones.
Yeah, cranky Tommy Lee Jones.
Hmm.
And then I watched my Blu-ray copy of Aliens from 1986. It's been a while since I revisited this one, so I revisited Alien a little while back. And as much as I love that movie, like it can be a little slow. Aliens is a better movie for sure.
Hmm.
I really like the characters in this, and and then this is the one with that iconic, giant machine she gets into. Get away from her, you bitch! This is such a good film. Highly recommend.
Hmm.
Then my wife and I watched the next movie chronologically, Captain Marvel. I had some issues with this the first time I saw it in the theater. I liked it a little better this time. I think my biggest issues are that by the end of the movie, yeah, there was a character arc for Carol Danvers, but the character arc was by the end of this movie, she is an unstoppable force. So what do you do with her in the rest of the MCU? You know what you do? When the whole universe is going to shit, you have her on vacation helping other planets. Because if she were in the movies, Infinity War and Endgame would have been 10 minutes long. I think that, at first, I've said it before, for as much as people say, what do you do with Superman? He's too powerful. Screw that. Captain Marvel's like too powerful, like the way they made her in the Marvel universe.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to Captain Marvel 2 just to see her, because I like her character and I like her weird outer space stuff. And I do like the guy at the end where like the Jude Law character is like, "Come on, fight me," and then she just blasts him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, screw you. I've got this power. I'm going to use it.
it's like, you're not worth my time.
Yeah. I didn't like her at first, even when I watched this, and then she grew on me this second time. And I think I do want to see more Captain Marvel. I just don't know what they're going to do with her because she's too powerful. But it'll be interesting to see where they go with it.
Hmm.
Then and the other thing that I think they went a little overboard with Captain Marvel was the really on the nose 90s stuff and like girl power stuff where it's like she's fighting and they're playing I'm just a girl. Like there was a lot of songs that were really on the nose, and then the 90s stuff was hey, did you see that it's in the 90s? Oh wait, let me roll down the window and this guy's listening to a 90s song. Hey, we're going to crash into Blockbuster cuz guess what? It's the 90s. It's just like I get it. Slow it down.
I do like how they gave Coulson hair.
Yeah. he Samuel L. Jackson looked really good de-aged. Coulson
Hmm.
looked a little weird. But they're still working with that stuff. So overall, like I said, I liked it a little better this time.
Hmm.
Anyway, the next movie I watched was on Netflix, a movie from 2020 called The Trial of the Chicago Seven. This one, courtroom drama written by Aaron Sorkin. So I mean, if you're a Sorkin fan, you're gonna like this movie. He just does dialogue well. It's one of those where you're going to get pissed off because it's a true story, and boy, it's mostly takes place in the courtroom, and the judge is just someone you want to just throat punch the entire movie. But he also injects enough humor to kind of like lighten it a little bit throughout the film, so that you're not like constantly just angry.
And
But
does his cousin Vinny come from New York to help get him out of jail?
unfortunately, no. The lawyer on the other side is Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And then there's a God. Who else was in this? I'm all of a sudden I'm just drawing. I'm picturing the whole movie, and like
I
just
know Sacha Baron Cohen was in it.
was that him?
Yeah.
I was watching the movie the whole time, going, I know his face. Who is that? It was like, oh my God, that. Okay, so that was Sacha Baron Cohen. Oh my God, I can't believe it didn't like put two and two together while I was watching him in there.
He was in 2 Oscar-nominated films in the same year. One of them was Borat.
What a year 2020 was.
Amen.
Oh yeah. So anyway, that was about the yeah. It was just a really good courtroom drama written by Aaron Sorkin, and about true events, about some protests in Chicago, and it was. I think it'd be a good companion piece with the movie that just came out, Judas and the Black Messiah.
Mm-hmm.
Because there is someone playing Fred Hampton in the courtroom, and so that gets brought into the fold too. But yeah, really good film, and that's on Netflix. Then we continued our Marvel watch and watched Iron Man from 2008. Another one I'm just going to say, go listen to our full episode in our back catalog. Then we watched from 2010 Iron Man 2. And this one is one I have not revisited in a long time, because this is one of those notorious, oh, everybody thinks this is a dud. Yeah, it's not the greatest Marvel movie, but I kind of enjoyed revisiting it. It's the first time you get Don Cheadle as Rhodes, and you get your first Black Widow. And then I want to see them bring Sam Rockwell back as Justin Hammer.
Yeah, he was funny.
I mean, Sam Rockwell is one of my favorite actors. Like, you put him in a movie, I'm going to watch the movie. It's just that simple. But I think he's someone that they need to bring back, especially in these TV shows that they're doing for Disney Plus. I think he would fit well in one of these series.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of like they brought Johnny Woo back for WandaVision. Jimmy Woo. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe he'll show up in like, I know, wasn't there supposed to be like an Armor Wars series? So
that would be really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think he'd be perfect, like the perfect character to bring back for something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not the greatest movie, but there's aspects of it I like and would like to see brought back into the Marvel universe. Then I watched a DVD that I got from Netflix, a 1994 film called The Glass Shield, and I think I mentioned last week when you asking what I was going to watch next, and I said I had this DVD, and I think it's an Ice Cube movie from the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, some of the posters I've seen online, he's prominent, like in the center of the poster. He's in the movie for about 10 minutes.
Nice.
The movie kind of centers around his trial, because he plays a guy who gets arrested, but it's more about these two cops played by Michael Boatman and Lori Petty. So they're a black police officer and a woman police officer in a precinct that like kind of hired them out of like, the filling their quota, but like they give them a lot of shit, and they're, racist and misogynistic and all that stuff. And then their racism shows through with Ice Cube's case. And finally, Michael Boatman realizes how bad it is, and he and Lori Petty kind of fight back against this corrupt police force.
Does Lori Petty get in a tank?
No, but that would have made the movie cooler.
Yeah.
It was one of those, right? I'm not going to give it a high recommend. I'm not going to have anybody seek it out, but it's one of those Sunday afternoon movies that like, if it's on something and you're passing by, it's okay.
Did Detective John Munch show up?
No.
Oh.
I thought it was funny. I wonder if they had Ice Cube so prominent because just a few years earlier he was in Boys in the Hood. So because this was only like his third film.
Yeah, because this would have been after Friday?
This was a year before Friday.
Okay.
So he wasn't even really that big yet. He had like his biggest thing was he was big in the rap world,
Of
but
course.
his biggest thing movie wise was Boys in the Hood, and this was like his third film. It's like I don't know why he was the big draw, but I guess he had more of a career after this than Michael Boatman did.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even sure what else he's done. Then I watched, dipped into my Universal Monster Blu-ray set again to watch Revenge of the Creature from 1955 with my daughter Elsa.
With a baby Clint Eastwood.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't remember Clint Eastwood in this movie unless I
He's
just
in
didn't
it in a very tiny role, but he's there.
maybe I just didn't recognize him too.
Mm-hmm.
Um, this one was fun to watch with my daughter because she's 9 years old and we watched. We're trying to go through all these Universal monster movies, and we watched the first Creature. It's been a couple months ago. I think I talked about it on one of these, obviously, but we're watching it, and she is in a phase where she wants to be an actress. So we do like theater Cedar Rapids classes and all this stuff. She hasn't been in anything yet, but like she's doing like theater stuff. But like the way she watches movies too is interesting because the opening shot is them kind of flying over the Amazon and just an aerial shot. And she's looking at it, she's going, "Oh, this is kind of like that spider movie we watched." I'm going, "Wow, that's pretty impressive," because it looks very much like the opening of Arachnophobia, where they're like, overhead shot of going through the forest with the river down below them. I was like,
Literally the same universe.
yeah, I was like, that's a pretty good perception there, remembering that was the opening of that movie too. But then we're watching it, and it's been like a month or two, and she only watched the first one once, and she's going, "I wonder if they brought any of the other actors back," because the story continues like, "Oh, we're gonna go where they said they found this creature, and they bring it back to an aquarium type thing." But when they go to get it, they get on a boat, and she sees the boat captain. She goes, "Oh, that's the same guy." I'm going, I don't know, is it? And then I looked it up. I'm like, wow, it is. That's pretty impressive. It's like you recognize. I didn't even recognize it was the same guy. But it was, and then with her, wanting to be an actor thing, like she's watching one scene, and it's a bunch of people in the aquarium, and it's just a shot of people milling about, and she's just commenting on, it's look at how many people have to be in that background doing something. Like she's paying attention to the fact that like those are all actors back there, and
Mm-hmm.
they're all required to be doing something on screen and all that. So I was like, this is she's getting pretty perceptive with like, it's kind of interesting, her commentary on watching things with me. But overall, the movie was kind of cool too. I liked the movie, except spoiler, it kills a dog. I think that was
Boo.
unnecessary. Elsa did not like that either. We were both like, "What? Don't kill the puppy."
People are one thing, but animals is where I draw the line.
I know. I've had this discussion with my wife all the time because she hates when animals die, but like it's like, and it's just like in general, people are like, "Don't kill the dog, don't kill the dog." It's like the dog is so innocent. And then you see innocent people dying. Well, they know what's happening. So, I'm like, how does knowing what's happening to them make it better? I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
Dogs are better than people.
I guess maybe that's it.
That's just the rule.
Uh, okay, so then I have 5 more movies, but 4 of them are going to go together. So I'm going to talk about a movie I watched on Prime next from 2004 called Collateral. This was a rewatch for me also. A lot of rewatches again. Michael Mann film from 2004 where Jamie Foxx plays a cab driver, and he happens to pick up a man named Vince, played by Tom Cruise, a gray-haired Tom Cruise in this, who is a killer and has Jamie Foxx like driving him around to his different jobs.
I like to imagine it's just like a game of Crazy Taxi.
Just running people over.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I've got a contract on that guy. Could you just hit him? Then I don't have to get out of the car and shoot him." No, this movie is pretty cool. It turns into like a cat and mouse game at the end. Jamie Foxx, the whole movie, is trying to get out of this, but like, he can't get away from this guy and without risking dying himself and all this. And and he knows that like he's just going to be expendable at the end anyway, because why would this guy not kill him after killing all these other people just to get rid of the witness? It's a really good movie. If you're a fan of Michael Mann, I would highly recommend this film. And Tom Cruise is great. It's a little more subtle role for him. I know he's playing a killer, but it's just a really cool movie. And then the last 4 movies I watched, I'm going to put them all together. I watched Hatchet, Hatchet 2, Hatchet 3, and Victor Crowley. This is if you're not familiar, this is a slasher series, kind of a tongue-in-cheek, playing off of the the tropes of the 80s slasher films, creating an urban legend in a swamp in Louisiana.
And doesn't Hatchet 3 Tokyo Drift?
Yeah, he gets in. Actually, it's in one of those swamp boats, and they like drift across the the swamp.
Ends up in New York City.
Yeah, so like this is the tragic deformed boy born, and then later his father raises him in the swamp, and later accidentally kills his own son when the house is lit on fire, and then but then the dad dies, and this Victor Crowley spends every night searching for his daddy, and he kills anyone who comes near him. This was kind of a fun series because it's very tongue-in-cheek, and all of the movies are like 90 minutes or less, all 4 of them.
Nice.
The first 2 and Victor Crowley were directed by Adam Green, and the third one was written by him, but directed by someone else. The other fun thing about these movies is that they take the gore to extreme levels. So like it goes beyond cringy to just that is so over the top that it's just kind of fun to watch. Like, there's one guy that Crowley puts his mouth on a table and then hits his head with his foot so hard that the table goes and the top half of his skull slides across the table and falls on the floor while his body falls. There's parts where he pulls, people in half, and then he grabs the spine and holds the rest of the body down and pulls on the spine and just completely skins them by pulling out their insides.
Like a fish?
Yeah. It's just really, and then they have the shots where like after someone dies, you just see them basically throwing a bucket of paint on the trees. Nice. So, this movie is worth watching just for a lot of the kills. And then, and then also some of the cameos of in the first movie you got Robert Englund in the beginning, and Tony Todd shows up in the first 2. Tom Holland, not Spider-Man Tom Holland, but the Fright Night Tom Holland, Child's Play Tom Holland, shows up in one of them. There's a character who's a significant part of the first 3 movies. In the first movie, she's played by some actress, but she's replaced in 2 and 3 with Danielle Harris. So that's cool. And then who else shows up? There's a lot of different, kind of horror alum that show up. And then there's one actor, I can't remember the actor's name, but in the first movie, he plays one of the boat tour guides who ends up dying. In the second movie, he plays his twin brother. In the third movie, he plays a completely different person. He plays a paramedic, but then in the fourth movie, he returns as that paramedic. So there's only one actor who plays in all 4 movies, and then he's 3 different characters in them.
That's great.
So yeah, they're not some of the greatest movies because they can be a little slow to start, but if you're a fan of the slasher genre, it's a good quick series to go through. Only 4 movies, 90 minutes or less on all of them, and the blood and gore and the kills are worth it. So but that's what I've been watching the last couple of weeks. So
nice,
some good stuff in there. Those movies are from 2006, 2010, 2013, 2017, and they're all on Amazon Prime.
Now we just got to get Hatchet 5, A New Beginning.
Well, they even have some of the other tropes in the movie. Like in the third one, he's finally vanquished. Like they finally find out how to get rid of him. But in the fourth one, they accidentally resurrect him again.
Nice.
So, it plays a lot on, there's a lot of jokes in the movies that some of the jokes don't land, but some of them are that's kind of funny if you watch a lot of slasher flicks. So
Nice.
anyway, that being done, let us know what you've been watching out there, and comment below and everything, and hit the like button, all that jazz. Subscribe. Tell us you love us. Tell us you hate us.
Mm-hmm.
And until then, you can find me on Twitter at AwesomeKM.
And I'm at Noah_Saturn, SATERN.
We're on Instagram at We Don't Know What to Watch. You can email us at We Don't Know What to Watch at gmail.com. And until next time, keep watching.
Keep watching movies. I'm gonna Hatchet you. Gonna ask you a question.